Good morning. This is my second time to come back to York in this setting. I was here several times in the year 2007 and 8 because I was privileged for my son to get to come to school here. He's an alumni of York, and I can tell you that I knew nothing about the town York or the school before my son made a decision to come here. But the school has left a lasting impression on my family and people back in Southwest Missouri. My son came here as a Christian when he got to York, but I will tell you that he grew spiritually while being here. This was a great growth place for my son. I'm going to take a few minutes today to talk about, and we will be awarding a scholarship here in just a few minutes, and we're so blessed to do that. Anytime we can give to somebody and bless somebody's life financially and help them further their education, it's just a complete blessing for my family to be able to do that. As Greg mentioned, yesterday was the 3-year anniversary of the accident that took my son's life. And one of the things I want to try to speak about just for a few minutes today is your legacy. You know, each one of you guys, and young ladies and men here, you're going to school, and then it won't be long before you'll enter the world, and you'll have big decisions about the directions you want to go. And your legacy is pretty important. And I want to talk just a few minutes about my son's legacy. And I want to be very humble by saying, when this first started, I'm not trying to create a shrine. I was trying to do something to honor my son, but more importantly than just honoring his life and getting an opportunity like today to spend a few minutes talking about him, I want to honor Jesus Christ. And it was very important to my son because Jesus Christ was the number one priority of his life. And I think when you think about your legacy, that should be important to everybody in this room. So on September 26th, first of all, when Tyler got out of school, he wasn't sure what he wanted to do with his career. And I own a produce company. We market fresh produce all over the United States. It's a very high-stress business. It was a business I wasn't anticipating asking my son to get in. There's quite a few career paths you could go to that would be less daily stressful than the produce industry. But he called me while still here at York and said, "Dad, when I get out of school, I'd like to come in and work part-time and just assist you, just kind of come in while I'm thinking about what I want to do with my career." And I said, "We'd be privileged to have you." So he joined as a part-time young man fresh out of college. Soon what was part-time became full-time, and then soon what was full-time became a passion. And before you know it, Tyler had a big footprint within the organization of my company. And as I looked over his life, when he was a high school baseball player, he had 5 college scholarships to play baseball. He was very talented. Tyler was very fast, pretty tenacious. And he turned those 5 scholarship opportunities down. And he made the decision to come to York, and he did have a wrestling scholarship. And he wrestled here for 2 years. And what a blessing York was to Tyler. And in high school, his coach and the team voted him as the spiritual leader of the team. And then the same thing happened here with Coach Dudry. His first year was Russ Dudry was here, and then Greg Smith in his rookie coaching year was with my son. And my son grew to certainly respect Greg. So he had those leadership qualities about him where his teammates would look and say, you know, we believe Tyler should have this responsibility. And he carried that throughout his career. And he worked through our produce company, he hired several folks. And so he had flown down to Nogales, Arizona. If you don't know anything about the produce industry, produce comes from all over the world. And a lot of our produce comes from Mexico. And so Tyler goes down, and he was negotiating with a lot of the growers in Nogales, Arizona. That's a border crossing for a lot of the fresh produce. He had had a pretty taxing week, just like you guys here in college. I'm sure there's weeks that by the time Friday rolls around, you've had a pretty taxing week. You've been stretched. And so what Tyler liked to do as a decompress or as a relaxing opportunity, and we all have something different. He loved the outdoors. Anything to do with outdoors, Tyler loved, whether it was hiking, kayaking, hunting, fishing. Tyler loved it. And if you wanted to, it wouldn't matter what Tyler was doing. If you mentioned, let's go hiking or let's go get in a canoe, Tyler was first in line to help you load the cooler and head off for the weekend. So when he came home that Friday night, tired from a taxing week at work, on Saturday evening he decided to go and sit in one of his deer stands. Now, understand, from the time Tyler was about 12, he had deer hunted passionately, and he had several deer stands set up in the woods in various locations. And on that night, 3 years ago yesterday, he got up in a deer stand, and based on all the things that we have studied about this event, he slipped and fell. You know, you think about that. High school baseball player, a college wrestler. What made him fall? You know, I don't really know. But what I can tell everybody in this room today is we don't know what tomorrow holds. And if I took you to the tree where my son took his last breath, you would look at that tree and you would say, this is a very innocent place, you know? It's not like there was a massive car wreck. It's not like he was a professional bull rider. It was a very innocent place. He had a safety harness on. He did everything to be safe in that tree stand. But on that day, a series of events happened, and he got hung up in the harness, and he couldn't navigate back to the platform of the stand. And in just a matter of minutes, Tyler went from this life to his home in heaven. And you know, I say that with great confidence because today, twice a month, after 3 years, I go twice a month to an organization in Springfield, Missouri called Lost and Found. And it's an organization designed for parents who have lost adult children. And as you guys all go into adulthood and marriage and later have families, I could sit here and I want you to remember, if you live to be 100 years old, there will be nothing in your life that you face greater suffering than if you lose a child. And the one thing I do want to say about my Heavenly Father is, after my son died, at his funeral, 3 people came to know Jesus Christ at his funeral. And I'm just blessed by that. Unbelievable. Did you know that when they were preparing for the funeral on the visitation night, there were 1,300 people that showed up. There were 3-hour wait lines to pay respects to my son. My son he was very humble. He was very quiet. He didn't want attention. If he had $10 in his pocket, he would rather spend 9 of it on his buddies. He was a young man that when he would come home from school sometimes, he would bring somebody home from school, and when I would start doing a question about who this was, it was somebody that other kids in the school wasn't treating very nice. Somebody that wasn't so sociable. And my son would bring that young man or that young woman home for Thanksgiving dinner or for Christmas because they didn't have somewhere else to go. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a legacy. You know, every day we build a resume. And you know, it takes a long time to build a resume that will outlast you. And in just a matter of minutes, if you make a bad decision, guess what happens to your resume, right? I'll tell you a funny story about Tyler. When he was a senior in high school, he had graduated, and I was in Arizona on a produce assignment, working like I do a lot of the time in my life. And I got to my phone, and Tyler had left me a message, and he said, "Dad, when you get home tonight, don't worry about me. I'm at senior camp that night." And he said, I won't be home till in the morning. Well, let me take a drink. I'm not a public speaker. So I thought, you know, my son and I have not talked about senior camp that night. Isn't that odd? I knew nothing about this. My son was very disciplined, and when he played baseball, in the bill of his cap, he had wrote Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. He wrote that with a Sharpie, and he had lived a very high example life throughout his education. So here he was a senior, and he had decided to go to the senior campout night. So when my flight landed in Las Vegas on the way back to Missouri, I called and I couldn't get my son on the phone. Well, he'd been dating a young lady, fairly serious, for about 12 months there, from his junior to senior year, and fortunately, I got her to answer the phone. And I said, Danielle, are you with Tyler? And she said, yes. And I could hear music in the background. I said, where are you guys at? She says, well, didn't Tyler tell you we're at senior campout night? I said, well, he left me a message, yes. Can I speak to Tyler, please? Tyler came to the phone, and I said, son, this senior campout night, is it sponsored by the school? It was very quiet on the phone. And he said, well, no, Dad, I don't think it's school sponsored. I said, well, is there any drinking going on at this event tonight? He said, Dad, you know I don't drink. His first thing he said to me, Dad, you know I don't drink. I said, I know you don't drink. I'm asking, is there going to be alcohol at this senior campout night? He finally confessed that I believe there will possibly be some alcohol at this event. I said, so you have your tent set up there, you're going to camp there all night. That's right. I said, well, listen, here's what we're going to do. At midnight tonight, I'll be off the plane and I'll be home. I need you to be at the couch in the living room. We're going to have a father-son meeting. He said, Dad, that's going to be very embarrassing. All my friends are here. You want me to tear my tent down and come home? This is senior campout night. And I said, that's exactly what I want you to do. So that night I came in and I had a discussion with my son. I told him how proud I was of him, and I said, tonight, you're not going to negatively affect the reputation that you built at this non-school sponsored event. He went to his bedroom and he kind of slammed the door, and I went to my room, and I'll tell you, I had tears running down my face because as a father, you want to be your son's best friend and just tell him yes to everything. But on that night, I felt in my heart I couldn't do that. So the next morning, my phone rings at 7 a.m. It was another parent who had a young man that was at the event and did spend the night. He said, Steve, I heard what you did with Tyler. I want to tell you how proud I am of you. He said, did you hear what happened? I said, you just woke me up. I said, it's 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning. No, I haven't heard what happened. He said, well, things got a little out of hand at the senior campout night last night, and some kids drank a little bit too much alcohol, and fights broke out. A couple of bottles were broken. There were some arrests made. And he said, I wish I would have forced my son to come home at midnight and have a father-son meeting. And so I tell you that there's decisions throughout life that you make. And I look back on Tyler's life. And Greg, I'm really happy that that night that I wasn't popular with Tyler, but I did what I thought was right. And that's what builds character in somebody, making right decisions at the right moment. So we got through the accident with Tyler. Tyler came and worked for me for several years. And he was such a blessing to our family. Left a huge hole in our heart when he went to heaven. We didn't get to say goodbye. And as a father, that's been one of the toughest things for me, is not saying goodbye to my son. I had texted him at 4:30, and next thing I know, a freak accident, and he's in heaven with the Lord. So today, just for this few moments, I wanted to tell you. And so what I did was, a lot of parents I found out when they have lost children, they want to talk about their kids after their kids are gone. It's a way that you can keep that your son or your daughter's life going, and especially in the case of Tyler, where you're so proud because of the legacy and the steps they took while here on earth. He was here for 30 years. And so we started a scholarship foundation, and the scholarship is designed to bless young men and young women across the country. So far, we've raised over $100,000 to the foundation, and we have given out $25,000 in scholarships. And today, I come to York, Nebraska. We're 8 hours from home. We drove last night. We got into Nebraska City at about 1 a.m., slept for a little while, and came on in here. It's an honor and a blessing for me today to give a scholarship to Pierce Mederios. This scholarship, Pierce, is for $5,000. And I want to just mention, so everybody knows, the reason that you were selected, we wanted to select somebody that had some of the same attributes that Tyler had. Integrity, commitment, faithfulness, and humility. Tyler was a humble guy. And I've heard a lot about you, and what I've heard is that a lot of those attributes is what you carry through life too. I'm just thrilled to be able to honor you with that scholarship. Thank you. One last thing I want to mention, just a thing, is I purchased a piece of property in South Missouri at 550 acres, and it's got streams running through it, lots of wildlife on it. And at this property, we're creating a place called Tyler's Hideaway, and it's going to be a place for folks, if you're down in that area, to come by, and if you want to sit by a fire pit, or if you want to go into next to the stream or meditate. So Greg will have more information on it as it comes to completion. It's under kind of construction right now, but the reason we're doing it is we want to honor what he liked, was the outdoors. And so it's a place for people to come and just kind of think about life and that. It's a blessing for me to be here today. Thanks for giving me a few minutes of your time. And keep our family in your prayers. We want to continue to have this scholarship go for years and years. So like Medeiros, like Pierce, we can bless other people's lives for years to come.